Good morning, my dear students of class 7. Once again, I am here with the topic we have started a new chapter which we did not do earlier. Okay, that is chapter 2, Kingdom Classification. This is the first part. Now the topics which we are going to cover in this video are: the first one is classification and its need. The second one is what are the advantages of classification. Third one, plan of classification, and then something about species, what is a species, and then 5 kingdom system of classification, how we classify the organism, various organisms into 5 kingdom system. So here you can see there are many things around us. Okay, there are varieties of organisms living around us. If you talk about the plants, some are there in your garden, some are there in the forest, naturally grown, some are big, some are small, some are so small that even you cannot see them through your naked eyes. You have to use the microscope, and that is why they are called microscopic organisms. Most of the plants are large, but there are some plants that are so small that they can be seen only under a microscope. So living organisms exhibit a lot of similarity as well as dissimilarity, the differences. They are similar also and they are different also in various ways, in their shape, in their size, in their structure, in their function, habitats, where they live. Okay, so if you read about all these things, you will find that the organisms are different in many ways. Now you cannot study all of them, and that is why this classification is required. In order to systematically study them, we have grouped the living organisms showing similar characteristics under different groups. So if some organisms they show similar characteristics, they are grouped in one, other ones in the other group. Like that we have classified them into various groups. The kind of division that enables us to easily and systematically study the living organism is known as classification. So when we group them in various groups, it becomes easier for us to study all these. Otherwise it is just impossible to learn about all the organisms, and that is why they are grouped in those who are having similar characteristics. They are grouped like that. There are various groups. We will be learning about them. So if someone asks you what is the definition for classification, so this is the definition: the method of arranging organisms into groups or sets on the basis of similarities and differences is called classification. On the basis of similarities and dissimilarities, we have grouped them. That is, this process of grouping them, putting them into different groups or sets is called classification. I'll give you one example. Whenever you go to a shop or a shopping mall, you will see the things which are similar kept in one place. Suppose if you go to a shop and you are supposed to find the books, you find it very difficult where the exercise copies or the pens kept. But the shopkeeper easily gets them. Why? Because he knows how he has grouped them. Maybe all the shampoos and the soaps are kept in one place. All the stationery items are kept in one place. All the health drinks are there in another place. All the juices are kept in another place. So he has categorized them. That makes it very, very easy for him to find out the things. Same way, it will be easy for us also to find out any organism which we want to study if they are grouped, if they are classified. And the branch of biology which deals with classification of organisms is called taxonomy. So never forget this. The branch of biology which deals with the classification is called taxonomy. Okay? Now, advantages of classification. Why should we do it? Is there any advantage? Let us see. So this is taken from your book, textbook. The classification of living organisms have the following advantages. Number one, it helps us to study a large variety of living organisms with ease and systematically. Not any other way, but systematically and easily. Okay? So there are millions of organisms. You cannot study about all of them. So, because of this classification, you can study about them and systematically, one by one, you can study about them. It helps us to place any new species found under a suitable category. We even don't know all the organisms on this earth. So if any scientist discovers a new species of anything, then where to keep it? So that can be kept in a group if classification is already done. If there are no classification, so no groups, so it will be difficult for us to keep it where to keep. Okay? So any new species can be kept in a suitable category depending on the characteristics it has. It aids in generalizing of the group characteristics. This helps in the elimination of need to remember characteristics of each member of a group. Just imagine, in one group, say there are 50 organisms. All of them are having similar characteristics. So you need not to study about all the 50. Rather, you can study the general characteristics of that particular group, which is applicable to all. Okay? So if you know about one, you know about all the 50, more or less. Okay? So you need not to remember all the characteristics of all the organisms. Okay? But one, you know the general characteristics, that means you know about all the 50. Classification helps to build interrelationships between different organisms. How these various organisms are similar or different, what is the relationship between them, how close they are, all these things you can learn because of this classification. It also enables us to understand the process of evolution. Evolution, how all these things, all these organisms came into this world, from simpler to complex. In the beginning, simpler organisms were there, and very slowly they developed into complex organisms. So it teaches about the evolution of organisms also. Now, plan of classification. We follow a plan of classification for better understanding. There should be a plan for doing anything. So for classification also we have to plan it. We cannot keep the things wherever we like, okay, or wherever the scientists they like. So a plan is required. It is based on the similarities in the characteristics of these organisms. So on the basis of their characteristics, similar characteristics, they are grouped. The ones on the top show least similarities in the characteristics. Who are on the top? Let's see. So this is the plan we follow. And on the top you have got the kingdom. It has got less similarities. All the living organisms are present in this kingdom. And slowly as you go down, the lowest one is species. There you will find those one in the group, in one species, they are having the similar characteristics, many similar characteristics. As you go up, you will be having less similar characteristics. So the ones at the top level show least similarities in characteristics, very few. However, as we progress down to the lower levels, the organisms share more common features. So in a species you will have more common features. They are very similar to one another, those who are present in the species. Kingdom is the largest unit. You can see there, kingdom is the largest unit, while the species is the smallest unit of classification. And we go this way. Species, these are the group of animals. They resemble, okay, and they can breed among themselves, they can reproduce among themselves. Then genus, then family, order, class, phylum, and ultimately kingdom, either plant kingdom or animal kingdom or the whole. Okay, so this one is the smallest unit, species, largest unit, kingdom. So this is the plan of classification. Now the lowest one, the unit is species. The organisms under one species resemble each other very closely. Lot of similarities are there in the members of a species. They are similar in their living habitats, their body and their body parts. The parts of their body are same and their living habitats are also similar. They can reproduce among themselves. Now let us take an example of chimpanzee and gorilla. Somehow they look similar, looks like relatives. But still you can find out many differences. You can spot the differences between chimpanzee and gorilla. They cannot have a baby. That means they cannot breed among themselves. They cannot reproduce among themselves. So they cannot be kept in one species. Chimpanzee is in another species and gorilla is in another species. So what is important? That they can reproduce among themselves. Those who are the part of a species, member of a species, they can reproduce among themselves. Now the definition for species: a group of organisms that share common characteristics. Their characteristics are common, very similar, and can reproduce among themselves are called species. So those who are having similar characteristics and can reproduce among themselves are called species. The lowest level of classification. Now we come to the last topic of this video, that is 5 kingdom system of classification. It was decided that all the living organisms can be categorized into 5 groups, 5 sets. And who did that? It was in 1969, R.H. Whittaker suggested the 5 kingdom system of classification. 5 kingdom means he grouped everything, all the living organisms into 5 kingdoms, where he classified all the living organisms into 5 kingdoms. And what are these? Let us see. 5 kingdom system of classification. So he divided all the living organisms into 5 groups, 5 kingdoms. Kingdom Monera, Kingdom Protista, Kingdom Fungi or Fungi, Kingdom Plantae, and Kingdom Animalia. Plantae is plants, Animalia is animals. So look at this one by one. When we are talking about Kingdom Monera, these are unicellular, primitive organisms, the earlier organisms. Lack a well-defined nucleus. They do not have a well-defined nucleus. Okay? And other cell components. They have cell wall. They are autotrophs or heterotrophs. What is the meaning of autotrophs? Autotrophs are the organisms which can prepare or manufacture their own food, whereas heterotrophs, just like us, we cannot prepare our own food, we depend on plants, so heterotrophs. So this Kingdom Monera the organisms, either they can be autotrophs or they can be heterotrophs. They are the primitive organisms, that means from the beginning, okay, olden days. Then comes Protista. These are also unicellular organisms. Here we have the protozoans. They have well-defined nucleus. They have the nucleus, unlike this one. They also could be autotrophs or heterotrophs. That means they either they can prepare their own food or else they depend on others. Kingdom fungi. This can be either unicellular, that means are made up of one cell, or multicellular or many cells. They have a well-defined cell wall. Okay, so they have a cell wall. They are heterotrophs. They cannot prepare their own food. They depend on others. They occur in damp and moist places. All the fungi you can see, they grow in damp and moist places. Then this you are very well aware of, the kingdom plantae. Multicellular organisms have a well-defined cell wall and mostly autotrophs. All the plants are kept in this. They are autotrophs by nature, that means they manufacture their own food by the process of photosynthesis. And the last one here is kingdom Animalia, the animals. Multicellular organisms, they are made from many cells, millions of cells. They do not have a cell wall. Animals, they don't have cell wall, but the plants, they do have. And they are heterotroph. That means they depend on other for food. In the next class, we'll be learning one by one about all these. Okay? So that's all for today. Take care and study well. Have a great day.